Bella's life had shifted into something that felt both impossibly unreal and achingly permanent. The transition from human fragility to immortal strength was not a dream she had woken from but a reality she now inhabited. Her body, once soft and breakable, now thrummed with a power that astonished her. The first time she looked at her reflection, she barely recognized the flawless skin, the burning crimson eyes, and the delicate yet impenetrable form staring back at her. For all the horror she had once felt imagining herself as a vampire, the sensation of finally belonging to Edward's world filled her with an indescribable calm. He never left her side, watching with both adoration and careful vigilance as she adjusted to her heightened senses, her controlled strength, and the endless thirst whispering at the edge of her restraint. The forest around their home was her first testing ground. Every leaf that quivered in the wind sang to her, every heartbeat of distant creatures pulsed like drums through her ears. The ground beneath her feet no longer resisted. She flew across the terrain with a grace she never knew as a human. Edward ran with her, his laughter light and musical as they darted among the trees, his hand brushing hers, reminding her that this was not only a new existence but one they would share forever. When she first hunted, the primal urge surged violently inside her, but she channeled it toward the deer and mountain lion instead of the humans she sensed miles away. Carlyle and Esme praised her control, astonished that she resisted temptation with such strength so soon after turning. It was as though her transformation had aligned perfectly with her deepest wishes, to stay with Edward without the fear of losing him, and to protect the child that had brought her here. Renesmee was the center of everything. The child grew rapidly, both physically and intellectually, her golden brown eyes filled with a wisdom beyond her years. When Bella first held her after awakening, the tiny hand pressed to her cheek, sharing vivid memories, a wordless language of love. Each image that the little girl shared, Edward's smile, Jacob's protective warmth, Bella's pale face before turning, carried with it a profound sense of connection. Renesmee was not simply a child, she was a bridge between worlds. The family adored her, though their love was interlaced with a cautious awareness of her accelerated growth. No one knew how quickly she would mature, or if her time would be cut short. Yet in every heartbeat, she embodied a joy that none of them could deny. Jacob's presence was constant. His devotion to Renesmee, born from the mystical bond of imprinting, made him inseparable from her. What once had been tension and rivalry between Edward and Jacob softened into reluctant understanding. Jacob hovered protectively near the child, his amber eyes tracking her every movement, while Edward, though still uneasy, accepted the wolf's role in her life. Bella, at first torn by the strangeness of it, came to see Jacob not as a rival but as a guardian meant to protect what she cherished most. There were still sharp words exchanged, still lingering irritation when old wounds pressed too hard, but the balance held. They all understood that Renesmee's safety came before pride or history. The peace they found, however, was fragile. Word of Renesmee traveled far, carried by whispers among nomadic vampires and eventually reaching the ears of the Volturi. To them, the child was no miracle but a crime. The creation of immortal children, frozen forever at a young age, uncontrollable and dangerous, was strictly forbidden. The Volturi had exterminated entire covens for such offenses, and the rumor of Renesmee was enough to stir their wrath. Irina, of the Denali clan, misinterpreted what she saw and reported to Arrow, believing the Cullens had broken the law. The shadow of doom began to spread long before the Cullens received confirmation. When Alice's vision struck, sharp and undeniable, she saw the Volturi descending with their guard, cloaked in black, bringing final judgment. It was not a trial they intended but an execution. Panic rippled through the family, but Carlyle's resolve was firm. They would not abandon Renesmee. If the Volturi came, they would not fight alone. Carlyle reached out to every friend, ally, and acquaintance he could find, explaining that Renesmee was no immortal child but something new, something neither human nor vampire, living proof of coexistence. One by one, the allies arrived. Tanya and her sisters from Denali, though grief still lingered in Irina's absence. The fierce Amazons, their presence wild and commanding. The stoic Egyptians, the proud Romanians, the nomads from scattered corners of the world. Each bore witness to Renesmee, and each felt the undeniable pull of her innocence, her ability to show them truth with a mere touch. What Carlyle built was not only a defense but a gathering of diverse souls united for justice. Bella, too, found her own strength. Her talent as a shield revealed itself, a power that extended beyond her physical will. She could block the mental abilities of others, shielding Edward from Arrow's probing, protecting her allies from Jane's torment or Alex's smothering silence. The knowledge that she could defend them, that she could stand as more than Edward's partner, gave her confidence. She trained tirelessly, learning to expand the shield outward, stretching it like an invisible dome around those she loved. Edward watched her in awe, recognizing that in her gift lay their greatest chance of survival. The days before the confrontation were filled with quiet intensity. Renesmee continued to grow, her words forming with fluency, her thoughts deepening. Each night, Bella would hold her close, memorizing the feel of her warmth, the delicate beat of her half-human heart. She wondered if this miracle child, so full of promise, was destined to be cut down before she could truly live. Yet she refused to surrender to despair. If there was even a sliver of hope, Bella would grasp it with everything she had. The morning the Volturi arrived, the forest was hushed, heavy with frost. The Cullens and their allies gathered in a clearing, standing shoulder to shoulder. Edward's hand clasped Bella's, unshakable despite the weight of what approached. Renesmee clung to Jacob's back, her wide eyes filled with curiosity rather than fear. Across the snowy expanse, the Volturi emerged, dark and orderly, their steps precise, their crimson eyes glowing with authority. Arrow's voice carried with eerie gentleness as he greeted Carlyle, though the menace beneath his tone was unmistakable. He demanded explanation, his curiosity sharp, while the black-cloaked guard fanned out, surrounding them. Carlyle spoke calmly, presenting Renesmee, inviting Arrow to witness for himself that she was no immortal child. Edward's gift carried Renesmee's thoughts to Arrow, and for a moment, there was silence. The child's innocence was undeniable, her existence a marvel. Yet doubt remained. Keys's fury demanded punishment, Marcus's apathy left no comfort, and the guards' loyalty to their leaders pressed heavily against the air. Tension crackled like lightning in the stillness, each side poised on the razor's edge of destruction. Alice's sudden reappearance shifted everything. She had vanished days earlier, her absence a wound, but now she returned with proof. She brought Nahuel, another half-human, half-vampire like Renesmee, whose existence confirmed that the child was not a danger but a rare evolution. His presence undermined the Volturi's claim to power, stripped them of their excuse for violence. Still, Arrow hesitated, caught between the lure of conquest and the risk of exposing weakness. The shield Bella projected shimmered invisibly, holding strong as Jane's power failed to penetrate it, as Alex's fog dissipated against her will. The Cullens stood unbroken, their allies unwavering, the truth undeniable. At last, the Volturi relented. There was no victory to be had, no crime to justify the slaughter they desired. Arrow's parting words were smooth, a promise that they would meet again under different circumstances, but the Cullens understood the threat beneath them. The Volturi withdrew, their dark ranks dissolving into the snowy forest, leaving behind a silence that felt like the exhale of the world itself. No blood had been shed, no life lost, yet the danger had been real enough to haunt them forever. When the last cloak disappeared into the trees, relief surged through the clearing. Allies embraced, voices lifted in laughter and disbelief. The miracle had happened. They had faced the might of the Volturi and survived. Many departed afterward, returning to their distant homes, but the bond formed in that moment remained unspoken and unbreakable. Renesmee was no longer just the Cullens' child, she was a symbol to all of them of something new, something worth protecting. For Bella, the aftermath was a quiet triumph. She and Edward stood together, watching their daughter chase snowflakes with Jacob close behind. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs. Bella leaned into Edward, marveling at the eternity stretched before them, no longer a fragile human fearing every passing moment. She had been remade, not only in body but in spirit, her strength proven, her love immortal. The story that began with a shy girl in a rainy town had unfolded into something vast and impossible, yet real enough to touch and hold. In the stillness of their home, as firelight danced across the walls, Bella thought of every choice that had led here, the pain, the danger, the sacrifice. None of it felt wasted. She had her family, her love, her child, and her forever. And when she looked into Edward's eyes, as dazzling and unyielding as the first day she saw him, she knew with certainty that there was no end. Only endless beginnings.